Let's just pop right into it, huh? So, Darius Overwhelm. This is one of the many decks that you can find up on my website. So, just really good, straightforward, aggressive deck. We have a number of units that have Overwhelm, such as Crescent Guardian, Iron Ballista, Crowd Favorite, and Darius here at the top end of our curve. And then Overwhelm notably has key synergy with decisive maneuvers here, where you can attack with everything, wait and see how your opponent blocks, and then play this to stun one of the blockers that they put in front of one of your Overwhelm units. And then in addition to giving all of your stuff to attack for that round, your Overwhelm unit that you're stunning the blocker away from also then becomes unblocked and gets to punch your opponent in the face for the full amount of damage, which is excellent. We also have other good supporting cards, like a bunch of cheap units in order to make a wide board to play Crowd Favorite out early. We also have Whirling Death here, which, similar to stunning a blocking unit, you can Whirling Death something blocking an Overwhelm unit, and then your Overwhelm unit gets to connect in full. And then we play Draven as basically more copies of Whirling Death, so you can have this as consistently as possible. And his axes are also kind of useful, because not only do they allow you to use cards that you weren't otherwise going to utilize that game to push extra damage, but the zero cost burst speed on this also works very well for triggering Nightfall on things like our Crescent Guardians or our Pale Cascades here. So let's go ahead and dive on into some games with this one and see how it goes this morning. Morning, Hamblin. Heimer Vi with Targain was had good results last season. It's just one of the many like fringe decks that just like wasn't anything super impressive. So, like, it just wasn't markedly above average, so a ton of people didn't play it. The Heimer elusive turret change is one of the changes that we've had in Runeterra that was more of a quality of play patterns change than a pure power level change too. Like, even before they removed elusive from Heimer's 3-cost turrets, it wasn't really putting up any insane results. Santa's back to the North Pole for the year, Stocio, so I don't know that he'll be gracing our stream again anytime soon.
It's Draven.
Brad for life forever. Thank you for the 33 months and for the very generous tier 3. Welcome back. I appreciate it. Okay, so my opponent has enough mana to play Trundle this turn. That being said, this Axe plus this Ballista, I think means I can attack into that even if they have it. So I'm going to go ahead and drop this before attacking, I think. Rustin Apothecary, thanks for the follow. Welcome to the channel. Yeah, you got it. Okay, with that play, they no longer have mana for Trundle, so we're definitely playing this other cutout before we attack. Yeah, Avalanche is not something we're worried about because we have 2 things with 3 toughness. This can't be blocked by their 1/1 here since it's fearsome. Yep, they're just blocking the most amount of damage here. I don't think I want to use the axes yet. We can use this to push extra damage later, potentially. Thanks for the 24 months, Scissor. Good morning and welcome back. It's been quite the year. Gems are also great at letting you play out things like Crescent Guardian. I think I'm gemming. Speaking of gems, I think I'm gemming. I need to decide here. Do I want to play into a potential Avalanche here? They've already played 1 Vile Feast, which means if I play this and they Avalanche, the odds of them being able to kill another one of my 3 toughness things next turn is low. M. Carry turn, thank you for the 21 months, and thank you for all your sub-gifts this month. You're too generous. Alright, and then this is a turn where we're pushing damage. They are a Ruination deck, sometimes they're an Icequake deck, so we're definitely opening on attacks here. I think I'm just gemming to push damage here as well. Definitely gemming an Overwhelm unit. Pray waits! This is my longest commitment ever. Thank you for the entire year. Whale's a card they could realistically have, yeah. I feel like if they had something, they would have done it here, right? Although I guess there's no real reason to be aggressive with these if I have the Decimate, right? I feel like I'm just supposed to click OK and take my guaranteed damage here. If I play these and then they Vengeance or whatever, I've burned so many resources at that point, it's not good for me. So I think I just do this and then hope to kill them with this. I have a Catalyst, sure. And like this is another Draven, right? So it could have been possible that I'm supposed to one Spinning Axe there, so that way it's possible I'm supposed to play one axe there to play around Catalyst and Whale. Well, I guess if they had Whale and I Axe, they just Whale in response, so it doesn't really matter. Oh, you know what? This was bad because they still have Ruination mana, right?
This is gonna be fun.
Yeah, my play was bad here. I'm gonna lose this game to Ruination.
Now we're cooking.
Yeah, I played this poorly. They were very dead on board. Regardless, I should have held the Darius till post so I could potentially open.
Time for the main event.
Yeah, we're not guaranteed to lose just yet. I could draw something, but yeah, this is if we lose, it's definitely on me. Yep. Well, I mean, all things considered, this is not lethal. They have a free Ledros in their hand.
Let's do this.
Alright, this is the part where we die to Atrocity. So again, there were 2 decision points that I made poorly this game. One, I could have played an Axe. I could have played an Axe to beat Catalyst. I could have played an Axe to beat Catalyst with, my, beat Catalyst with my Decimate, and then I could have waited to play this. I don't think I can play around second Ruination here, right?
I have my orders.
Yeah, always did Atrocity. So it's really I feel like that's a good teaching game more than anything. We're not really worried about our specific rank. Like, it's very easy to like take a look at a game like that and be salty about Revitalizing Roar or Atrocity or Ledros, and that would be a huge scapegoat. That would be ignoring the fact that I had multiple key decision points that game where I could have played around very specific cards and elected not to with poor play. And that again, like, just key to show that, like, regardless of if you're winning or losing, taking a look at, like, just what your record is tells a really bad story with the decks that you're playing. It's something that inexperienced and bad players focus on a lot of the time too much. Like, what's my record with the deck? My record tells the story, when in reality it just doesn't. 1 drop here is actually a great draw, because it means I get to go 1 drop, 2 drop on 3, and then this into 4 at attack.
Whipped up something special. Bless the people and
See the heretics. They didn't have a go hard last turn for this. Jinx, you think they don't have it? So definitely playing goat here. Sweet. Get to put this out as a 5-4 now. 6-5, sorry, math. They notably do not have Vengeance Mana this turn. They do have a red card. Wow, that's brutal.
Not seeing strength.
clear off.
Now, the discard aggro deck's great. I also think the discard aggro deck's a good example of, while everybody remembers the nut high draws of discard aggro has a lot of play and nuance to it. It's definitely a deck that making mistakes is going to cost you a lot of games. Sure, but like there's a lot of decks that can stabilize against anything, but good discard aggro players are going to give their opponents fewer opportunities too. Stuff like that last game, for example, discard aggro has a ton of situations like that, where like you just need to not give them the edge in 2 or 3 different spots, and then you kill them. That being said, this is looking like a game that there's not going to be a whole lot I can do. There's definitely, like, Runeterra has a lot of games where you had decisions you could make differently in it. This is not looking to be one of them. Getting 4 for 1 by a Twisted Fate, or 3 for 1 by a Twisted Fate red card. Honestly, it's kind of like 4 for 1 because it mostly killed my crowd favorite, too. I think most of Runeterra is harder than Magic, honestly. I think as someone who's played a lot of different card games and gotten people into a lot of new card games coming from Magic, I hear more often in Runeterra that that people are struggling to climb the ladder than any other game I've ever played. And I think, in large part, that difference and that struggle happens in this game because Runeterra has so much more player agency than most card games people play. I mean, it depends. So someone saying that that's a good thing. It's not necessarily. It's not strictly a good thing. What's the best way to put it? Runeterra, or games like Runeterra, where we're gonna make some gems here and keep my things alive. A selling point to games like Magic is that you can play sloppy and be bad and still win. And games that have less variance and more player control like that, I think definitely appeal to a smaller number of people. Nah, I don't think that's strictly true, Broken Appendages, because, like, people like, games like Hearthstone and Magic, where they're expensive to get stuff, a lot of people still have a lot of stuff, right? Like, the reason why those games are expensive and successful is because people pour tons of money into them. Like those games aren't being incredibly predatory to scare people off. They're being incredibly predatory because being predatory is successful. Yeah, we're pretty done here. I guess we could peel like a Darius maybe, but Runeterra has far fewer high roll nut draw style decks than in Magic, where a player who's worse can just play a deck that occasionally is just going to kill people on turn 3 or turn 4 without any repercussions. Yeah, I think what Lambton just said there is definitely true. And I feel that streaming Runeterra a little bit sometimes too. Is Runeterra takes more. It's harder to play Runeterra while distracted because there's more decision points and there's more action per game, right? Which honestly, part of that could reflect the Twitch numbers too. Like, people always talk about, or a lot of people are obsessed with talking about Runeterra's metrics on Twitch. It's way easier to watch Magic or Hearthstone while also playing Magic or Hearthstone compared to Runeterra. Because trying to split your attention while playing this game is much more challenging. Ishan and Dutra, thanks for the follows. Good morning. Opponent playing They Who Endure aggro here, looks like. I'm gonna Draven here because he's most likely to be able to attack and not trade. And with crowd favorite rolled up here, I want to keep my board as wide as possible. Try and get this down as a 6-5 or a 7-6. I don't know. I think in terms of like weird, wacky combo decks, Runeterra hits that level of stuff, and stuff like that'll hit more often as they expand their card pool more. Something that's actually really interesting to think about in terms of Runeterra is think about the current deck diversity that Runeterra has as a game, and now realize that Runeterra isn't even done fleshing out their standard card pool. So, like, we don't even have the number of cards in Runeterra that we will have when they start doing rotations in this game. So, like, Runeterra's currently partially finished standard card pool has more deck diversity in it than Magic's formats that have a decade and a half's worth of cards in them. Lost Axiom, thanks for the 28 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Okay, this draw actually means I can afford to trade something off here inside of combat and still have a full board for crowd favorite next turn. Alright, definitely trading here, and then I think we're just blocking here and generating another axe. The opponent's decks sometimes play Unspeakable Horrors, but not usually. It's unfortunate. Maybe I'm supposed to block with this to keep Draven alive there. That's interesting to know that Unspeakable Horrors is more stock in Endure. I guess since they're playing Wraithcaller now, they can play fewer other cards. probably want to push damage here, right? And if they're eating these, then they're not blocking these, and that's a win for me. Trying to put them down to 10 here has value for Darius. I'm gonna spend these axes killing their Bark Beast here. I think that's worthwhile. Okay, we got them to 9 here, which means Darius is leveling even if they have a, even if they have an Unspeakable Horror. Which they probably don't, because they would have killed this. Deal. I mean, it levels their Kalista too. It gives this a thing. It levels the Kalista.
I have my orders.
Is a weapon.
I think I block here so I'm not dead to second atrocity, but I don't want to block. I guess I have Pale Cascade if they have Unspeakable Horror next turn. So do I just do this because I beat Unspeakable Horror that way? What if they have Double Horror? Playing around Double Horror seems worthwhile. Next turn I'm attacking for 16, 18, and they only have 7, 16 toughness. I'm gonna go to 7. Opponent's archetype doesn't usually play things like Vengeance. Just gonna go ahead and open attacks here so they can't have a They Who Endure as a blocker.
Just by my hand.
You have earned your fate.
Alright, looking dead. I says they're dead. Click OK. Hey, Fruvius, I'm glad you're enjoying it. DJ Squarespace, thanks for the 3/4 of the year. Welcome back. I think with Scargrounds, Vlad finally has a critical mass of payoffs and enablers to be competitive. The build that we highlighted on my highlights channel recently felt really, really good. We're gonna play a slightly different build today that's a little bit more all in on Riven. We'll see how that goes, but I know the one that's up there has definitely felt super reasonable. I think I keep double soldier here. This lets me go 1 drop on 1 into 1 drop on 2 at least. This is like a 1, 2, 3 curve, even if it's not exactly perfect. Hey Seth, thank you for the 33 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. 33 months. That means you first subbed right about the time where I started doing content full time. It was like February 2022 or 2018. All right, well, now we get to go super wide before we crowd favorite.
Raise your weapon, sunward. All unbelievers will see the light. Punish transgressions.
No, I don't think that's really a problem for Vias. I also think Crimson Aristocrat. in that archetype, I want 2-drops to be cards that I actually want to play on 2. And Crimson Aristocrat, I don't want to play on 2 if I don't have exactly that 1-drop on 1. Which I think makes it not great. Unfortunate turn for us. Fine, crowd favorite's still pretty thick here.
I stand for Noxus.
First light illuminates the land. Behold
Yep.
the sun's
This is why we saw this deck, this archetype our opponents playing start incredibly greedy this season, playing Garen as a second champion. And as reality slammed in, they moved off of playing Garen into playing Leota to have more defensive tools. And I definitely think that was a correct decision for them.
The journey is different. These will protect you.
Channel our power.
Okay, we can dodge a single combat, we can dodge a ball. Leona is not ready to level yet, so I could play this. Gosh, that's appealing to just play that though, right? So even if they daybreak this turn, they won't stun anything. So I think we just crowd favorite. Actually, so they have Judgment mana available, but I guess Judgment doesn't kill either of these, so they still hit. Yeah, okay. I think even if they have Judgment, playing these is correct. Representing Whirling Death also makes Judgment scary for them.
Forger, your work is unparalleled. To shine like the sun, you must burn.
Yeah, decisive maneuver does stop Judgment. And there could have been merit to decisive maneuvering so they couldn't play exactly second Sunforger. Could have been correct. That being said, I think I'm gemming here and then attacking with everything. I'm gemming here so that way this doesn't have free eats on this.
Hold my work.
Which makes this trade likely.
Face my shield. Ever vigilant. Face my shield.
And then hopefully Darius on their turn plus decisive maneuvers on our next attack is going to be enough to close this game out.
Sunlight guide you, my brethren.
The Aesol Garen deck definitely is a bit of a garbage time deck at points.
They will bleed for Noxus.
Getting this down right now before they can star shaping and deny his level up is important.
Let my stars guide all travelers onward.
No blocks. Take 4. If they attack with this, they could single combat this, which I don't want.
Noxus will rise.
Definitely just opening on attacks here.
Back, heretic. Is this what you said?
And then they have to blink first here because they're dying. So they do something and then we get to decisive maneuver. Judgment doesn't save them here because they don't have anything big enough to kill these. Morning Abyssal. Yeah, maneuvers hopefully lethal here. They don't have none of their things are big enough for single combat to work either. They could like have a single combat plus Judgment Hail Mary to kill this, but then decisive maneuver should blow that out. Thinking. Yeah, decisive. Judgment requires the thing that's striking be inside of combat, so decisive maneuvers takes the thing that's striking out of combat. So it's no longer a legal target for judgment. Lights out HS. Welcome to Hearthstone. Or welcome from Hearthstone. Welcome to Runeterra. Welcome to Hoaglandia. Good morning. No, I don't want to be a loading screen tip. What's a loading screen anyways? Aurelian Skull. Yeah, the opponent was just like putting a bunch of stuff on the stack with the eye to see if any of them saved him. 1, 2, 3. It's just curvamentary. What could it be? Here's my speaking of the username lightsouts_HS. Here's my #1 piece of advice to anybody that ever thinks they might start making content for any game. Do not put anything that indicates the name of the game you intend to be making content for in your username. Don't put HS or TFT or MTG. Yeah, looking at you, Alan. Like, it's just like, at least like in Alan's case, like they're both like Riot games, but like it's not just Alan, right? Like there are a ton of people who like their username is something like that, right? And like you just don't know where you're gonna end up at if your content is successful and you do it long term. I think we open attacks here rather than playing this out and letting them play a Fiora plus tricks. We just take our 5-fall here.
I long for a worthy opponent.
Yeah, the sponsorship angle is also a good one to point out as well. Alright, sweet. So we get to go double 1-drop this turn into Crowd Favorite next turn. And we get to bank 2 spell mana so we can Crowd Favorite into Pale Cascade. I think if we get to a turn 7, we should be in a pretty good spot here.
I need only one to win.
What if I gem this to be able to Pale Cascade kill anything? I kinda like that. I'm gonna gem and pass here.
I will try me.
Discipline and conviction.
This deck, Precipic, is up there with Lee Sin for the most frustrating decks to play against in Runeterra, in my opinion. This deck feels like a Magic deck in a lot of cases. There isn't a lot of counterplay. The only thing, in my opinion, that makes it slightly less offensive than Lee Sin is the fact that she technically doesn't have built-in protection.
Is this supposed to be a
I think our deck has a fine matchup here. Our deck's just a good tier 1 deck. Tier 1, whatever that means. Our deck is powerful enough that it basically always has a chance to win anywhere.
I have no time for fools.
Need a lot of skill to climb with the Fiora deck. I'm not talking about how much skill is involved with the deck. I'm talking about subjectively how it feels to play against the opponent's archetype. So I'm not gonna get into some kind of pissing contest about people that want to feel smart or not feel smart about things. Also that the Fiora deck is very polarized, so you're gonna get a number of free wins with it. I think we're just doing this. It's tough because like leaving them Sparklefly is scary. And honestly, it could be right to give them the Fiora and kill the Sparklefly here, because this was Hush, so I get to keep my crowd favorite that way. If they don't open attacks with this or burst into attack, I get to drop Darius and level him. But that being said, they're going to go ahead and do this. And this is a good example of why the opponent's archetype is so polarizing. Even when you don't have Fiora to beat up small unit decks, like this card is just such a beating. Alright, so what am I doing here? I think it's Solari into Gem into decisive maneuvers. I wonder if we'll see a Sparklefly nerf or a Kinku Lifeblade buff. I feel like Ionia is due for a number of buffs. A lot of their cards are just like a bit worse than other cards in other regions at the moment. I don't know. I think making a number of Ionia cards better would probably be a net positive for the game. All right, this is lethal if no Bastion. And this is why we're playing this out instead of just conceding, because our deck just has good draws. Sometimes you get to run them down. I don't know, the game was very different when they nerfed Kinku Lifeblade. Like the game was very different. Like it had a slightly different. I think definitely early on, like pre-Bilgewater, maybe even pre-Call of the Mountain, actually, they were still trying to figure out exactly where they wanted the total power level of Runeterra to land, and it feels like they've kind of stabilized that a bit. Animals, thanks for the follow. Good morning and welcome. Walnut Juice, thanks for cashing in that Prime this way again. I really appreciate it. Wouldn't be here without the support of folks like you. Welcome back. PNZ SI Timo. This is probably a Hex Core, right? Yeah, Elusive specifically is much worse today in a post-Sharpsight, post-Hush world than it was back when Kinku Lifeblade was nerfed. So I think we mulligan looking for more cheap cards here, because if they're a Mushrooms deck, I just want to be able to vomit my hand out. Yeah, other regions just have more elusive things as well. So like Sharpsight, Hush, and just more elusives in general. All of those are things like that. General Splatter, thanks for the follow. Good morning. If you liked Kinku Elusives as a deck, you should make sure you check out the highlight video of Iona Endure I posted yesterday. Deck's really sweet. Has a lot of those similar. It's like Kinko Elusives, but it's playing Endure as a top end, so it's better against removal heavy decks. Definitely just want to go wide here, right? So we can drop a giant fatty crowd favorite. We're probably set up here at this point to double spell this turn, crowd favorite on their 4, attack and decisive maneuvers on our 5. There's merit to not playing the Precious Pet, because Precious Pet could elicit another Gohard if they have one, whereas this really doesn't. So if I play this instead of this, I'm more likely to have 4 units when they start their next turn. I think I'm into that. There's a good chance if I play this out, they play a 3-3 anyways. Like, they have 3 Puffcat Peddlers in their deck most of the time.
The sheep tells me all I need.
Isn't Endure really awkward nowadays? I assume you're referencing Endure being awkward because Hush exists, but that's just not how card games work. Your opponent doesn't always have their answer to your thing when you have your thing. I know that mentally as a human, you only remember the instances where you get blown out, but I promise you that's not how card games work. Second is that in addition to them not always having it, decks like the Endure deck we played yesterday is paired with a bunch of other things your opponent doesn't mind hushing, making it so you overload their answers. Also, Endure aggro is literally, by the data, one of the better decks in this current format. So no, objectively, Endure is not awkward. One of the things that happens far too often in Runeterra for my liking is Runeterra is this game where we have an incredible wealth of data to reference that's objective, and people still use their feelings way too often. Like, stop it. Stop saying I think, I feel, and look at what the information tells you. Separate your feels and look at what reality is. Rubik Tube, thanks for the follow. Yes, the Mobalytics tier list is data-driven. Look at that and draw your conclusions from objective information. If you're new to the channel, like Triton1 there, thanks for the follow. Before I started making content full-time, I have a graduate degree and an undergraduate degree in mathematics. I spent time teaching at college and university level. I spent time doing process automation and stuff like that for a Fortune 50 company. I have a very analytical brain. And one of my big pet peeves is people not using data when it's available. And in other games like Magic and to a lesser extent Hearthstone, people could mostly use their feelings there just fine because those games don't provide as much data as Riot does with their client API. But with the API that Riot provides, there's no reason not to just be going to the source and looking at what reality is.
Piltover craftsmanship with Zonite flair.
Huh? I have to decide here, how many things am I willing to trade in combat? Because I want to crowd favorite again next turn. Honestly, I think I'm only attacking with these, so that way I can crowd favorite again next turn. Most of these aren't getting through anyways. I think I attack like this so I can have a second 7/6 next turn.
Beg your pardon?
Gemming the Fearsome doesn't really do anything because it still just trades down with this. I guess if I gem the Fearsome and then this trades here, then this has to trade here. But I kind of want to guarantee keep my board 5 wide before I play this out. Like if I play this out as a second 7/6 and then I decisive maneuvers on my following attack, they'll likely be dead. Here's a question for both my regulars and the new people. When I talk about my credentials to new folks coming into the stream, is it more impressive and relevant to talk about my degrees in math, or is it more impressive and relevant to talk about that I played Magic professionally before this? Which of those are more relevant to command more authority? I feel like it's the math background because that's more atypical. Definitely, maybe chat seems decided on degree. It depends on what. That's fair. Depending on what you're talking about, context is important. The data-driven arguments, definitely the math background is probably more relevant.
That would
Math realistically, but feelings say magic. With the big brain answer. Alright, so I have 7 mana available here. I think we gem this and then play this other crowd favorite. Gemming this means it doesn't die to another Mystic Shot, and should they have a Get Excited, I can Pale Cascade to save it.
Yes, of course.
They're not in the regions that have kill target damaged thing. Or are they setting up? They have like 3. We're gonna get like, are they gonna pack our bags this turn? They've only played one go hard, I believe. The opponent's archetype is one that a bunch of people are pretty high on early days into the format. It's what I've been really underwhelmed by, both playing with and against it. I think if you're interested in playing mushrooms in this format, you should definitely watch the Teemo Sejuani. I think that's the reasonable mushroom deck in the format. Sure, and things like that, Tuck, is why sample sizes are important. Zaka, thanks for the 7 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Well, we've got some solid curve of entry here. I think we mulligan this looking for a crowd favorite.
Bless the faithful and sear the heretics. Punish transgressions.
Yeah, my graduate degree was not terribly specific. It was fairly generic. So like my final project that I did was related to graph theory, but I took a large range of classes that included game theory stuff just because I like games. How badly do I want to lose to an elixir? If I block and they elixir me, they're less likely to have elixir next turn, which means Draven can attack. Although I suppose Draven can attack into elixir anyways, right? Because of his spinning axe. I'm going to take the hit here just so I can... And this is a decision you make often in this deck early, especially when you have crowd favorite already rolled up. Sacrificing points of life so you can stay wide is valuable.
For the Empire. The few for the many.
They have Troll Chant, I'm pretty sad here. Sweet. So this is a good exchange for us. I am, with crowd favorite and decisive maneuvers rolled up, I am super happy to trade 3 points for 3 points. I don't think it smells like Troll Chant at all, right? Like, there's no play they've made this game to indicate they have Troll Chant there. That, I think, thinking they have Troll Chant in that instance is a very good example of people just assuming their opponents always have it. Your opponent does not always have it. I promise you're supposed to call a lot of the time.
The Winter's Claw.
I could be right to discard this there. I'm only going to single block here, so this way if they do have Troll Chant, I don't get completely blown out. Yeah, because if I block both of these and they have Chant, I get savaged here. So here it is slightly less so. So I have to decide, am I decisive maneuverings this combat, or am I whirling deathing? Honestly, I think I might just be whirling deathing. This defensively next turn could be key to surviving. You can always see our current record by typing !record in chat. And if I think if I'm whirling deathing this turn, I want to play this up before I attack.
If I fall, so be it.
Routes closed.
Well, if the record command was there.
Everything.
Damn it. Sorry, I had to search on Twitter for the tweet that goes with the "it doesn't matter."
What are you waiting for?
Then we get to whirling death off the Draven here to generate an extra spinning axe, which is great here.
This land is ours.
What do you mean never punished? What bad play did I make that you think I should be punished for making? Can you explain? Some people like to know how our deck is doing without drawing conclusions from the record. Like, that's the whole point. That's the whole fucking point. Did you not just read what I linked? You can't tell how a deck is doing from the record. That's literally the point of the tweet I just linked.
No mercy for heretics.
Was the record is irrelevant and you can't glean meaningful information from the record. You can't. That's not how statistics work. That's not how relevant sample sizes work. You will be a better player if you worry less about your record with individual decks. Just full stop. This means we don't die, right? I am from Central Illinois. I reside about 2 hours south of Chicago. The Bloomington normal area, if you are familiar with the geography there. And in my opinion, people that put incredibly small sample sizes in their overlay or their stream title, they're doing their community a disservice and pushing people to make bad decisions based on not enough information. I think we do this in attack, right? I am unfortunately 1 mana short here of being able to double up. It's very...
I stand for Noxus.
And I understand again that... Yeah, I think we're dead here. I understand that me being against posting records like that, that's me swimming upstream. The cultural norm on Twitch and in card games is that players make statistically bad choices, and that's the norm. The quick and easy, what's the record, this deck is good or bad based off of the record. That's the norm, and having to discuss the nuance and the details of it takes work, and that's not something a lot of people want to do. They want the quick answer. Yeah, it's a bad habit that's greatly encouraged by a lot of parts on Twitch. It's just like how I time out people for posting lazy messages in chat. Normally, most places on Twitch, being lazy and just having engagement is encouraged. Thanks for the sub gift, Niv. And Matic, thanks for the follow. Welcome to the channel. And I know that it takes effort to retrain people to, like, don't do the silly low effort things. Dick Guz. Thanks for the Dick Guz. Thanks for the follow. Oh, Twitch usernames. Paper Cascade might actually be worth keeping here. I think I'm gonna mulligan these looking for curve here. That's close. It's close though in this matchup. The combat tricks could be really valuable. Vitama, good morning and welcome to the channel. We're doing really great, Red Link. Christmas was fun. I posted some of my favorite pictures on Twitter. Where was it? So I don't have Facebook chat, so you have to pretend to be my Facebook and look at my pictures of my children really quick. Aren't they cute? They're great. It was really funny. Really liked his foam TNT. I think we're just going wide here, so we can have good open attacks next turn. Do you feel like your arguably high expectation of your chat affects your channel growth? Yes, but it affects it in two different ways. So I think the way in which I expect more from my chat and the user engagements here hurts my average viewer count, but it helps my subscriber count. I think it makes it so the people that are looking for low-effort internet engagement are very unlikely to stick around, but I think it means that the people who do stick around are more likely to support, if they're able to. I think we open attacks here. If they play Fiora, I just can't attack. Like, for example, something that was true when I was streaming Magic the Gathering full-time was I was probably only the somewhere between, like, 3rd and 10th for total viewership in the Magic category on Twitch, and I had the most concurrent Twitch subscribers of anyone streaming Magic on Twitch for basically the entirety that I was streaming Magic full-time. Hey, thank you for the brand new Prime support, Even the Horizon. I really appreciate that. There's a lot of great people on Twitch that you can support with your Bezo bucks every single month. Thanks for shipping them this way. And while it doesn't translate directly to Runeterra, because like a lot of my subscribers came with me to Runeterra from Magic. We have some new ones as well, but a lot came with me. Like, for example, I think the only person that streams Runeterra that comes close to like the current subscriber count I have is Grappler. And he's right about or a little bit below me, depending on where sub gifts have put either of us for the given week. That's great, press a pick. Yeah, I agree, Kev Bob. And honestly, I think part of the reason, like, I have a 6-month-old for people that are new, so I'm up late a lot of the time with her, so I watch Grappler in the evenings. He's probably the Runeterra streamer I watch the most because of my 6-month-old sleep pattern. He has a high sub count too, I think, because he's very good at community building. He's very, very personable and very good at engaging with his base. Yeah, his hours are tough. I wasn't able to watch him for a long time, but Haley had been on this awake till 1 or 2 a.m. sleep pattern for a while, so I started watching him a little more consistently. He's a really, really good content producer. That's a decent pickup. So I can House Spider and still do this inside of combat, which is great. fully agree with that. As someone who was in Twitch Swim stream yesterday, he is like Swim's background, Swim's understanding of game theory is probably one of the best in any card game anywhere. But his chat tends to be a dumpster fire. To be fair though, most 2,000 viewer Twitch stream chats tend to be a dumpster fire if they're not in sub only mode. So I don't really like it. Is kind of is what it is. In chats like that, you're mostly just like moderating for things that are like overtly, for things that are like obviously racist or offensive, as opposed to like trying to generate discussions. I think we just try and kill the Fiora here. Good chance it's not successful, but we'll give it a go. Yeah, and like I can appreciate like what those chats are, right? Like they're just people generally speaking having harmless fun, and I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that. It's not the culture I want personally on my channel, but I can understand that it's harmless and that other people enjoy it. It's not a big deal. You know, it's funny. I think the thing I miss the most from being involved in Magic the Gathering is watching Day 9 stream. which says a lot about how much I was enjoying actual Magic as a game. Oh, I could have killed them with Decimate next turn. I was talking to chat. I've been trying to watch more of his variety stuff, but his hours don't always light up great, but yeah. I think we're dead.
This will be quick.
I definitely should have been to this and kept the Decimate though. In my mind, I was like, oh, I get to play this level, but that just doesn't really matter.
I never try me.
Okay, it didn't matter. If they have the lethal here, it didn't matter. For people that haven't watched Day 9 before, he does variety stuff and some Magic stuff. He did StarCraft before that. He's basically the Mr. Rogers of Twitch, just like super genuine, upbeat dude. He's one of the OG Twitch streamers too. He's been partnered for like close to a decade, I think. Sasquatch, thanks for the follow. Good morning. He has the longest Twitch sub possible on his channel. Oh, nice. Okay, yeah, so it just didn't matter here. I think there will be a combo section on the site. I don't think so, Omnom. Runeterra, and this is honestly, I think, a good thing about Runeterra as far as design goes. Runeterra doesn't, like, the all-in Fiora deck that we were playing against there is pretty close to, is the closest thing Runeterra has to a dedicated combo deck. And even that has a tempo Sparklefly beatdown plan in some amount of its games. So there's definitely combo decks up there on my website. Now, one thing I've thought about doing, and this would take me a while, so I'm not sure when or if I'm going to get to it, but I might restructure the decks page on my site to be individual pages for deck lists, and then I could tag the decks on them with different things, because like there's like mid-range combo up there, and aggro combo and combo control, and like being able to like search based on region or different sub archetypes could be nice and useful as I add more decks up there eventually. Because like Runeterra has so many different competitive decks, I do think there's a chance that like there's 24 decks up there at some point. Like I think right now there's like 13 or 14, and it's starting to get a little unwieldy all being on one page. So when I had modern decks up there for Magic, I had a bunch of search functions. I spent the time putting together and programming. Yeah, and part of that, Juvu, is that Runeterra, one of the things that makes Runeterra great is the good decks in Runeterra tend to be dynamic in the terms of their gameplay game to game. And to talk about Swim again for a second, something he said on his stream yesterday was just so true, is that role assessment is more important in Runeterra than any other game that I've ever played, and too often people think about their decks in terms of my deck's an aggro deck, so I'm beating down, instead of thinking about the context of what is my hand doing in this game. Because, and this is actually why people talk about Lulu and Taric being bad. Part of the reason why Lulu and Taric are not good champions is in large part due to the fact that Lulu and Taric aren't modal cards. They're not cards that can pivot and play a defensive game when you need to take a defensive role. Support cards only attack because of the way the support mechanic works. And all of the good aggro decks in this game are modal. They can pivot based on what's ideal for them. This is a rough beach. They're gonna get to kill two of my things here, which makes my crowd favorite worse. It's very possible I should have not played Draven out here, and I should have just like hold up Whirling Death to save this. I don't know, it still ends up in a pretty bad spot. Yeah, I honestly, I don't think Taric and Lulu as cards will likely ever really be competitive as is if they don't redesign how support works in general. I do think support like would kind of need to be a thing that's useful on defense. All of the good, almost every good deck in Runeterra is flexible. It can take different roles depending on what the current matchup demands of it.
There's a chill in the air.
Yeah, it could be as simple as making it work when blocking, for sure. I think we're just passing. Sure, I mean, reworking support would definitely require reworking cards like Shen that currently are playable support cards. That's almost assuredly true. You can't just blanket change it to make other things better because there's things that are already playable that would then be too good.
You're late.
You are early.
No room for doubt.
My gun does the talking.
We just do this, right? Does he even beat Sharp Sight? So they could have single combat here. If they single combat these in response, this gets to hit me for 8. They're glimpsing it, sure, that's fine. And then next turn I get to play this out as a 6/5. If we draw a 1 or 2 drop, we can play it for the full boot. Meh. Y'all ready for the Space Jam? It's a shame we weren't 1 more mana, because then we could axe into this, but good'll do in a pinch. Yeah, Guard Gray. Moving forward, I'm going to be focusing a little bit more on Runeterra and a little bit less on the random variety stuff on the channel. So, the random variety stuff is fun, but it just doesn't grow. And my Runeterra content's been doing reasonable in terms of growth, so I'm going to focus on Runeterra a little bit more. My goal is to remain doing Runeterra as my primary content, so if that's treating me well, I'm going to focus on doing a little bit extra of that. I'm going to do at least 3 Runeterra decks per day, as long as there's stream submissions coming in for them. And then, possibly more, depending on what viewer metrics look like day to day. My loose plan is, if I have a decent viewer count, I'm going to do a fourth Runeterra deck most days. Or if we're having a lighter viewer day, I'll do a little bit of variety at the very end. Now, I don't think I'm going to be doing more Pokemon. The viewer response on Pokemon stuff was mixed. And past that, it's just, I find it really... Pokemon VGC is like a card game in that you have to have a lot of experience playing it to play it well, and I don't really enjoy playing things poorly, if that makes sense. Like, I just don't have the time to invest in VGC to be good at it, and I don't really enjoy playing things that I'm mediocre at. Is it too aggressive to double axe here to kill this? It's a lot like a card game, Press a Pick, and that is pretty impenetrable if you're not heavily invested. Yeah, that's why I played Overwatch for a little bit, and like I grew up playing a ton of Counter-Strike Source, but the amount of time you have to spend to be good at those games is huge. And I just have a hard time finding enjoyment in them if I can't spend enough time to be good. Hey, T-Lee, thank you very much for the brand new Prime support. I really appreciate that. Welcome. Thanks for keeping me around. And K-Vale, thanks for the half a year. Good morning and welcome back. Only Love, thanks for the follow. Welcome. So I'm not going to be doing evening streams anymore, Noah. I'm going to be doing longer daytime streams that will be mostly Runeterra stuff. I'm gonna do some variety still. I plan to finish Witcher 3 and Final Fantasy 7 on stream eventually, but it'll be a little bit more infrequently / sporadic. It might be wrong to play this out pre-combat. Yeah, maybe I'm supposed to wait until they attack here. Yeah, that was a mistake. Yeah, they're gonna chew our board up and spit it out here. Yeah, this was a mistake. I should have saved the gem and this for post-combat. Although I guess if they killed everything I had, I wouldn't have had anything to gem. In hindsight, we should have axed for the damage since we drew the Decimate. Yeah, exactly. Obviously. Obviously should have known this was on top of our deck. Is the Horizon Zero Dawn sequel supposed to be in February already? I didn't know we had a date for that. I thought that date was still unannounced. I'm definitely looking forward to that one. Horizon Zero Dawn is my number one game of all time. Really, really good. Well, I mean, we technically have lethal here, right? If they don't have a blocker. Isn't that like 10 to 20 games? What do you mean? Number one game of all time? No, Horizon Zero Dawn, if you ask me to pick out of all games ever made, Horizon Zero Dawn is numero uno. It's real good. It's just like, it's actually excellent on every aspect of the game. The graphics are good, the story is good, the characters are engaging, the combat is fun. Like, it actually just nails everything. To me personally, I think not getting bogged down in overly complex character systems is a good thing. So, Draven Jinx. I'm mulliganing this. I get to go Precious Pet on 1, Gift Giver on 2, Bank a Spell Mana, Gem something, Crescent Guardian with Nightfall on 3. Witcher is also really well done. The big thing that puts Witcher under Horizon Zero Dawn for me is I think the combat in Witcher is a lot less interesting. I think I open on attacks here, so they can't... what 3 power things could they play? Almost none? Let's play the Gift Giver. I don't think they have punishes here in this deck. Witcher combat is there. Yes, that's a good way to describe the Witcher combat. It exists. It definitely exists. How do we feel about defensive? How do we feel about defensive Draven? I think I like it. I think if they attack with this, I'm gonna take the trade and get my axe. Yeah, I've heard good things about Ghost. That one's Ghost and God of War are both on my list to play. And get to all those good ones eventually. I think we just gem into Crescent Guardian here. Even if they have something defensive, both of these cards will attack into it cleanly. Yeah, I don't think they want to, I don't think they want to trade this for either of these. And honestly, if they want to block Jinx into here, I'm gonna trade 2 axes and 2 cards for it. I think that's a good trade for us. I think I'm keeping Decisive Maneuver. Am I? So I'm attacking on evens. I think I'm keeping this and this. So I'll play this on their turn and this on my next turn. I don't think Witcher 3's combat is bad. I just don't think it's memorable or innovative. It's just like pretty, like, Witcher 3 combat is like stock, RPG third-person parry dodge combat. It's just not particularly memorable. Yeah, it's not bad, it's just, it's there. That's why I said it's there is the good descriptor. Like, it's not, I wouldn't describe it as bad, but I wouldn't describe it as, oh, this is great and interesting. I think I'm just trading this here, right? What's it called? Pale Castine's a good draw here. Hopefully we'll get to push lethal through this turn.
I stand for Noxus! We have done well. Noxus is proud.
Noxus is proud. I'm gonna do one more with this deck. I like how this deck plays out a lot. It's very soothing. This deck is such a good example of how the aggro decks in Runeterra really reward you for sequencing your turns out in advance. Fearsomes. It's been a hot second. I'm gonna mulligan everything except the goat here, looking for like 1 and 3 drops. Found the 1 drop at least.
Bless the faithful and sear the heretics. Devotion to battle.
Bear. I think with this draw as my 3-mana play this turn, I'm gonna go ahead and attack. And then they'll likely block, and then we'll Whirling Death here. I think is the play to keep my goat alive. It's basically like turning this Whirling Death into another goat. That feels bad from a tempo perspective. We're technically trading 2 for 2, but I traded 5 mana for 3 mana there. I did get gems out of the deal, but doesn't feel good. Really need to draw some units here. Well, I mean, I guess this technically qualifies as drawing a unit. This is technically what I asked for. Not that one. This is what you get when you ask the monkey paw for a unit in this situation. Hey, happy holidays, Adam. Hope you have a wonderful new year. Thanks for the 2 months. Welcome back. When your opponent makes this play, you know they're in a bad spot. We're not in a great position. This is actually a good draw. We get to go ahead and goat into crowd favorite now. Horizon Zero Dawn is, it's a single-player game, Jojoro. It is not a multiplayer game. Darius is probably lethal here, huh? We can play him, and then the overwhelms will level before we get to him. I feel like this deck has a lot of tough decision points. I think most decks in Runeterra have a lot of meaningful decision points. I don't generally speaking like to get down into the nitty-gritty of this deck is easy or hard to play, because in my opinion, this deck is easy or hard to play discussions generally turn into pissing contests about whose deck is feel smart and whose deck is good, whose deck is it makes you a better player, when in reality most decks take a certain level of understanding and decision making. Wow, that's brutal. Okay, so they fully deserve to miss on their Wraithcaller there because they're playing a bunch of cards. We're gonna die to Harrowing next turn though. I think Moonlight Affliction is fine as a card press-a-pick. I just think playing Moonlight in addition to Pale Cascade is greedy in your Allegiance deck. Yeah, and opponent planned their mana out here really well, getting to get to Harrowing here. So their double hush bought them the turn that they needed, and then we're gonna die to this, right? Are we dead? Yeah, right, I can block 2 things, then I take 8, 11. Yeah, because I can't play this and this. Yeah, I don't know. I concede. There's a chance that, like, if they attack with the Kalista, I could block the Kalista and stun something, but even that's not good enough, right? I'm mulliganing this. I don't have any gems or Dravens to enable a Nightfall easily. Really want to draw 1 or a 2 drop for next turn. If I take turn 2 off, my crowd favorite becomes very bad.
The good guys, but not that good.
This is the part where our opponent has a double trouble and we're in trouble. Valor. That's not a big deal because of Whirling Death here. So they'll attack with this, hook this most likely, and then Whirling Death will get to kill it. Yeah, I was very lucky to stag my PS5, no problems. Really glad that worked, so this can't trade for 2 of our things. Definitely need to trade there, but feels bad with crowd favorite in hand. Again, the fact that I, you know what? I think I'm Pale Cascading and then playing this Crescent Guardian. The fact that I didn't have a 2 drop on 2, and then we've had to trade off a bunch of stuff has made this card really mediocre.
Nothing gets between me and my mark. That's far enough. I think we're probably dead from here. Opponent's hand is full of gas, and our hand is real bad, and one of our cards just, like, doesn't do anything. Should have stopped while we were ahead. Decided to play one more and got dumpstered twice.
happy with this list. This is card for card what's been up on my site for a little bit. I don't really think any of the cards from the latest card drop really slot into here meaningfully. I think the mix of what this has going on in terms of combat tricks and decisive maneuvers in combination with its overwhelm units is very, very reasonable. Yeah, I think I'm happy with it. If you're looking for an aggressive deck, I think this is definitely one of the better decks you could be using to ladder up with because it's powerful and competitive, and it tends to win or lose fairly quickly. So if you're doing okay with it compared to other slower decks, you're going to ladder a little bit more quickly than you would otherwise. Alex, thanks for the follow. Good morning and welcome.